But she did mention one thing where your name came up. That she didn't have room for drawing.
The Senate will come to order. The senators will take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privileges of the floor will retire to the gallery. Good morning, senators.
Good morning.
Good morning, guests.
Good morning.
The senators and those in attendance, if you are able, please rise. We will be led in prayer this morning by the Reverend Dr. Lisa Johnson of Richmond Hill in Richmond. Following the prayer, we will remain standing and to repeat our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which will be led by Matthew Siebold, our Senate page from Fairfax.
Madam President, Senate, guests in the gallery, pray with me if you would. O wise and eternal Creator, you are ruler, maker, and keeper of all. As we enter into this season of Lent and leave this season of a Black History Month, today, God, we thank you for trusting us to be your hands and feet in the earth realm. We thank you, Holy One, for calling this body of officials together to do the necessary work for the state of Virginia. As they enter into this budget decision-making process, we pray for their strength, their wisdom, their clarity of thought, and we ask, oh God, that when it's all said and done, they will hear these words, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." Keep them in your care, O God, like only you can. And we promise to give your name praise. It's in your holy name that we ask it all. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll. All those present, please vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam President. Senate Journal for Wednesday, February 21st, 2024.
The senator from Goochland, Senator McGuire, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All those in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will report any communications from the House of Delegates. Chair calls on Senator Saravel, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Good afternoon, Madam President.
Good afternoon.
I move to waive the reading of the House communication.
The question is, shall the reading of the communication from the House be waived? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. The clerk will report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, Madam President.
We have arrived at the time in our morning hour when we will discover who our beautiful guests are. And so what the normal process is the senators will rise and tell us who you are or your organization. Please rise at that time. And if you'll hold your applause until after I've spoken, then we will applaud you together. And so I do call on Senator Stanley, the senator from Franklin County.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Today we were to have gotten off on the good foot with the Reverend Tyler C. Milner, Sr. from the Morning Star Holy Church in Axton. But Reverend Milner, who I adore very much, had an emergency and could not be here today. So what we did is we had an amazing opening prayer by Dr. Lisa Johnson of Richmond Hill in Richmond, Virginia. Dr. Johnson's formal training includes more than 30 years of teaching and service in the Richmond public school system. She earned her Master's of Divinity from the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology at Virginia Union University and earning her doctorate in ministry from the Ashland Theological Seminary in Ohio. She's been a lifelong member of the St. Paul's Baptist Church before her current membership and ministry roles at First Shiloh Baptist Church. She also serves as chaplain of the Henrico County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority and as a counselor with the Healing Place, specially in counseling for victims and survivors of sexual and domestic violence. Madam President, she led us in an amazing prayer and helped us to get off on the good foot today. So I would wish that you extend to her, especially in such short notice, the warmest welcome of the Senate.
Dr. Johnson, thank you for coming again. And as we've been told, unfortunately, Dr. Milner had a dental appointment. I guess it was like pulling teeth. But you're here, and we're so glad you came. And, you know, you've prayed for us for knowing how to spend the people's money as we go through the budget process, and we do need wisdom in doing so. Thank you so very much. Senators, let us give her the warm welcome of our Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Hashmi, the senator from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. Today in the gallery, we have staff with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and they are accompanied by someone we all know well in this body, and that is Margaret Peggy Sanner. 2 weeks ago, members of this body passed a resolution honoring Peggy for her 13 years of service with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, first as a senior attorney and then ultimately as the organization's executive director. We all know that Peggy has been at the forefront of environmental advocacy and education on a range of issues that include tree cover expansion, updating wastewater treatment infrastructure, wetland preservation, and effective implementation and enforcement of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act. And this is just a few highlights of her illustrious career. She has played a pivotal role in building partnerships and advancing legislative and regulatory policy in the Commonwealth, all for the purpose of protecting one of our greatest natural resources, the Chesapeake Bay. Peggy's leadership at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation and her presence in and around the Capitol Square will be deeply missed by all of us, and I think I speak for many in this chamber when I say that we wish her the very best in her well-deserved retirement. Madam President, I ask that we extend the warmest welcome of the Senate to Peggy and her colleagues from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation.
If you are here, please rise. There you are. Thank you so very much for coming. And we all know the great economic driver that our Chesapeake Bay is, and that we must preserve it at all costs. And thank you, Peggy, for all that you've been doing to help us to do so. You will be missed, but I don't think you're not going to be coming into the office. I think they will remind you that you are retired. Thank you so much. Senators, let us give her the warm welcome of her Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Stewart, the senator from King George.
Thank you, Madam President. Rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Today in the gallery we have Susan Stevenson from Tappahannock and her grandson Henry Petratoni, and hopefully I didn't commit a McDougal on his name. Madam President, Susan served as a Page Program Supervisor from 2009 to 2012, and her grandson Henry lives here in the city. He's an 8th grader attending the Stewart School, and we may see him back as a Page in the near coming future, Madam President. So I would ask that you please give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank you for coming, and we're so glad to see our young people, especially Henry. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce your name, your last name, to watch us and to see how we go about the business of our great Commonwealth. And thank you so very much for what you have been doing for us. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Carol Foy, the senator from Eastern Prince William.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for an introduction.
The senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. In the gallery are cadets and officers from the Virginia Military Institute, my alma mater, from Lexington, Virginia. VMI is the oldest state-supported military college in the country, founded in 1839. As one of the first women to ever graduate from this prestigious institute, I can attest that VMI is no ordinary college. It is a transformative experience, producing citizen soldiers, leading battalions and boardrooms. And in my opinion, Virginia Military Institute is the best military college in the world. These cadets are a part of a group of upperclassmen from VMI in Richmond today, meeting with their legislators to thank them for their support of higher education and the Institute. This evening, these cadets will join alumni, faculty, and staff from VMI at the Library of Virginia for the Institute's legislative reception from 6 to 8 p.m. tonight. Please come by and visit with the cadets at this event, and it is my hope that you give them a warm Senate welcome.
Good afternoon to you. So glad to see you and to hear that right here in Virginia, once again, we have many firsts, and you are the first of the military academies. Not West Point? Yes. So there you go, West Point. We love them, but you know, you're ours. Thank you so very much, Dr. Wynn, for being here, and thank you. We, of course, expect continued greatness from you. And as we know, we lost one of our own recently, our captain in the Marine Corps. But thank you. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Hackworth, the senator from Tazewell.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for introduction.
The senator may continue.
Madam President, you may have seen a lot more orange and maroon walking the halls today. And joining us in the gallery is students from Virginia Tech. They're undergraduate students. They are participating in Hokie Day, which is the annual day that students visit us here at the General Assembly, meet with their legislatures to share their experience at Virginia Tech and learn more about the state legislative process. You may have already been visited in your office by these students today, and as their sitting senator, I would ask, Madam President, that you give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
I'm looking at the future of Virginia, and it is bright indeed. We're counting on you to continue our traditions of course, being our economic driver. We are counting on you to be the leaders that we need. We are counting on you to be ready to take your position in society as you move into adulthood. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for the point of a person.
Introduction?
Yes, an introduction.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to do both. But, Madam President, today it is my honor to welcome the esteemed Democratic leaders from across Virginia gathered here for the DPA's Legislative Day. These individuals are the vanguards of progress, embodying resilience and an unwavering dedication to our core values of equality, justice, and opportunity. Their commitment addresses our era's critical challenges: economic growth, health care, racial justice, education, and climate action. As we approach a period of transformative change, their vision and tenacity inspires us all. Let us commend these leaders whose efforts not only guide Virginia toward a more inclusive future, but also exemplifies the very essence of our democracy in action.
I've been voluntold to introduce one of the members here who's the granddaughter of our esteemed leader here, and that's Natalie Shorter from Prince William County. Please extend to the Democratic Party of Virginia the warm welcome of the Senate.
Yes, good afternoon to you. We are so glad that you're here, and we're so glad that you're continuing to be part of the process. We always need to hear all sides, and I like to say this, as I say about our military, that, we can all say, things about each other, et cetera, but if you touch one of us, you touch all of us, and now it's on. So we're so glad to hear from you. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator McDougal, the senator from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
The senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. In the gallery, we have a group of individuals from the Hanover Chamber of Commerce here today. They are visiting to watch session, talk to their legislative members, and Madam President, even though he's not in his seat, I wanted the Majority Leader to be aware that Hanover is the birthplace of Patrick Henry, who might have been born at Scotchtown, but he spent most of his life in rural Plains. So if you could offer the Hanover Chamber Group the warm welcome of the Senate and thank them for spending time with us today.
Good afternoon, Hanover Chamber of Commerce. So glad that you are here. We know the value that the Chamber of Commerce brings to its local community. We know the value that you bring in providing leadership in so very many different areas and reminding us not to forget your particular part of Virginia. And so for that, we are grateful. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes the senator from Charlottesville, Senator Deeds.
Madam President, rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, members of the Senate, we're lucky today to have a group of students and teachers from the Village School in Charlottesville in the gallery. The Village School was founded in 1995 and is recognized as the oldest all-girls middle school in the United States. The school is deeply committed to providing and nourishing a community and educational experience that is safe, warm, and welcoming for all girls, a place where girls can discover their strengths, find their own voices, and grow into confident, self-reliant, and intellectually curious learners. By providing the skills and support necessary to engage in a challenging four-year curriculum, Village School prepares girls to safely take risks and to make responsible personal and academic choices. The girls are treated to a fun-filled 4 years that prepares them for high school and beyond. Madam President, I'd ask you to give them the warm greetings of the Senate.
Well, good afternoon, young ladies. It's so good to see you. And you are the only all-girls middle school. And the senator said a thing that, of all that he has said, which is you are going to be helped to find your voices. And find them you must, because we want to ensure that you know you have a voice, that you will take a back seat to no one, and that you belong in whatever room you enter. And so for that, I applaud your school. Senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? Hearing none, The clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Thursday, February 22nd, 2024. Unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 239 has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Hashmi, the senator from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the amendment be agreed to. And speaking briefly to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This particular amendment that the House has added to SB 239, which is the Licensed Social Workers Compact, is a simple technical amendment. It clarifies that the applicants for a multi-state license shall pay for the cost of fingerprinting that's required by the Social Work Licensure Compact as entered into by this Act. And I renew my motion that we concur with the amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment on Senate Bill 239? All those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 26, noes 13.
Ayes 26, noes 13. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 344 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Reeves, the senator from Orange.
Thank you, Madam President. With the recommendation, we reject. I now that ask that we concur with the House substitute. And speaking to that,
the senator may continue.
Madam President, the bill before you is just, for the most part, the same bill that actually left the Senate, minus one caveat. The House substitute, when it was placed on the Senate bill, put 1/4% of the proceeds going to the Problem Gaming Fund, and I don't know that we've taken that up in our budget. Allotted for that 1/4% to go to that fund out of that bill. So I'd like to get it to conference to see if we can figure that part of it out.
The question is, shall the substitute passed by the House on Senate Bill 344 be agreed to with the recommendation that it be rejected? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The substitute proposed by the House of Delegates is rejected.
Senate Bill 392 has passed the House with amendment.
Chair recognizes Senator Pekarsky, the senator from Western Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendment, and I speak to that motion.
Senator may continue.
Thank you. The House bill and the Senate bill are completely the same, except for the House amendment changed the effective date to January 1st, from January 1st to July 1st, 2025, and that was actually the intention that we had as well after we worked with stakeholders.
The question is,
passage of the bill.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 437 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Sudeline, the senator from Roanoke.
Thank you, Madam President. Can Senate Bill 437 go by for the day?
Without objection, Senate Bill 437 goes by for the day.
Senate Bill 526 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Williams Graves, the senator from Norfolk.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendments, and speaking to that motion.
Senator may say on.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a purely technical amendment on line 181 in Section F of Senate Bill 526. It replaces the two words of disclosure packet with resale certificate, which is replaced for accuracy. I move that we pass the amendment.
Concur.
Pass the bill.
Concur.
Concur and pass the bill.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute for Senate Bill 526? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 576 is passed the House with a substitute.
Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we concur with the House substitute in speaking to that motion.
Senator may continue.
The House substitute deletes language in order to clarify that court clerks would not need to determine whether real estate service agreement violated the act or whether to record it. This has no substantive effect on the act, which still states the recorded unfair service real estate agreement is void and unenforceable. So with that, I renew my motion. We concur.
The question is, shall the Senate concur? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Senate Bill 649 has passed the House with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Salim, the senator from Central Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move that the Senate concur with the House substitute and speak to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. SB 649 increases from $25,000 to $50,000 the death benefit payout under the Virginia Line of Duty Act for a death caused by occupational cancer, respiratory disease, or hypertension. And what the House version does is instead it increases to $100,000 as the benefit. So I ask that I go back to my motion and ask that we concur with the House and pass.
The question is, shall the Senate concur with House substitute for Senate Bill 649? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate concurs.
Uncontested calendar House bills on third reading. House Bill 1.
Chair recognizes Senator Surville, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move that all the House bills on third reading on the uncontested calendar, pages 4 through 6, House Bills 123 through 1402, be advanced to their final passage in the block. After the adoption of any amendments thereto, that any senator desiring to remove a bill from the block shall do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
The question is, shall House bills on third reading, uncontested calendar, pages 4 through 6, House Bills 123 through House Bills 1402, be placed upon their final passage in the block with any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill to be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will now read the number of the bills.
House Bill 123, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 124, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 160, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 238, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor. House Bill 595, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Dees, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 692, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with an amendment, and there is a floor amendment.
Again, Senator Dees.
Madam President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is agreed to. Senator Favola, the senator from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that we waive the reading of the floor amendment.
The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? Those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator Favola.
Madam President, I move that the floor amendment pass. And speaking to the motion.
The senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. This was a bill that laid out a framework for financial institutions to take steps if they thought there was financial abuse of a vulnerable individual. In the section that talked about referring financial records to the FBI or law enforcement, a request was added that we specifically state that no record disclosed pursuant to that section would be subject to the mandatory disclosure provisions of the Freedom of Information Act. And this language was given to me by the Coalition for Open Government, and this is a standard statement that we use whenever we're intending to protect certain records. Having said that, I do hope the amendment passes. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Favola floor amendment be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The floor amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1402, reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
The question is, shall the House bills in the block pass? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote?
Senator Peake.
The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The bills in the block pass.
Regular calendar. House bills on third reading. House Bill 47, invasive plant species requirements for retail sales. Reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Marsden, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I would at this time yield to the senator from Central Fairfax, Senator Salim.
Chair recognizes Senator Salim, the senator from Central Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I motion that we withdraw the floor amendment and agree to the substitute that is coming from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
So if you'll do one of those at a time, you want to first withdraw the floor substitute?
That is correct, Madam President. I would motion to withdraw the floor substitute.
Without objection?
Madam President, parliamentary inquiry.
The senator may state it.
Wouldn't the proper course of action here be a motion to adopt the committee substitute, and then if that's adopted, the remaining floor substitute would then be out of order?
Essentially, Senator, but I wanted to know what the senator wanted to do first. So,
okay.
I mean, we could have done, if he had said he wanted the one, then the other would have been out of order. So we are withdrawing the floor substitute, the Marsden floor substitute.
It can be either one. It comes to the same thing.
It's fine. The way he's doing it, it's fine. We can withdraw the floor substitute before we take up.
All right. Those in favor of withdrawing the Marsden floor substitute will say. I did say without objection. All right. All right. So without objection, The Marsden floor substitute is withdrawn. Senator Salim.
Madam President, I agree to move the substitute from the committee.
And with explanation?
Yes, Madam President. It essentially lays the Senate version over the House version, and that's the substitute.
Chair recognizes the senator from Chesapeake, Senator Craig.
Thank you, Madam President. Would the senator yield for a question?
Will Senator Salim rise and yield for a question?
Yes, Madam President.
Senator yields. Senator Craig has the floor.
He withdrew this? Okay, thank you. What? Well, I just still want to ask a question. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. I would ask the senator, does it go back to per plant now with the tags?
Senator Salim has the floor.
Madam President, it does not go back to the tags. What we are hoping is that this substitute, where we lay the Senate version over the House, will get us into conference.
Needs to be there. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
The question is, shall the committee substitute from Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. I see 8 hands. This will be a recorded vote. Those in favor of agreeing to the substitute from Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources. For what purpose does the senator from Lynchburg rise? Without objection, the Senate is at recess for 2 minutes. The question is, shall the substitute on House Bill 47 be agreed to? This will be a recorded vote. Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 8.
We got to do passage.
Senator Salim.
Madam President, I ask that HB 47 pass to its third reading.
You mean pass the
Move
bill?
Passage of the bill.
Yes, sir. It's very confusing. It's all right.
Thank you, Madam President.
Would the senator like to speak to that?
Yes, Madam President. So HB 47, we laid the version that was passed in the Senate over the House version to ensure that invasive plants, whether they're sold, have a list that's at the establishment that's posted at every entrance so that the individuals that are purchasing are aware of that, along with any places that may violate that have a civil penalty.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 31, noes 9.
Ayes 31, noes 9. The bill passes.
House Bill 878, Affordable Housing Purchase of Development Rights.
Chair recognizes.
Reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendments.
Chair recognizes the senior senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam President. Move that the amendments be agreed to.
Question is, shall the amendments be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is agreed to. Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam President. And move that House Bill 878 pass. And speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. So this would permit any local government to purchase or accept donations of development rights in an effort to preserve and provide affordable housing. And the bill grants local governments the powers necessary to carry out the purchase or receipt of donations of such development rights, and prohibits diversion of affordable housing once the development rights are purchased or donated, unless the local government determines it's essential to the overall needs of the locality. And Madam President, just sharing a story, I sort of picture, frankly, a lot of folks have had starter houses when they first started a family, and I think back to my own grandparents' home, which is right across from a park. And many times, a lot of these communities are being sort of stripped down and tore down for bigger McMansions, and really the whole complex of whether a new family can afford to move into these neighborhoods changes. And I think that's what this bill is trying to get to, is voluntary. If someone wants to donate their development rights to sort of preserve the same character of their neighborhood, they could do that under this bill. And likewise, it also provides a locality, if they want to purchase that development right, they could also do that. So it's completely voluntary between the owner and the local government, and a means to build and preserve some of the neighborhoods, probably some of the neighborhoods you grew up in as well. And that's what the bill does, Madam President.
Chair recognizes the senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Madam President. Would the senator yield for a quick question?
Will Senator McPike rise and yield for a question?
I yield.
Senator McPike yields. Senator Stewart has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I wasn't on this committee, and I'm a little delayed these days, but I would ask the senator, it appears that on lines 57 through 59, this actually restricts what you can do with your property. In other words, if there is an area that has been designated affordable housing, and I don't know what that means because it's not defined, you can't then renovate that property if you want to. It's got to stay in that unless you get certain agreements from certain authorities. Is that accurate?
Senator McPike has the floor.
Madam President, I think the lines that he's referring to would accurately describe where you voluntarily or you've been remunerated and paid for those rights. Again, you've entered into that agreement. It would restrict you, for instance, expanding density or FAR, the floor area ratio and square footage of that existing residence. And so it's completely voluntary. Basically, if you've got a 1,200 square foot or 2,000 square foot home, it's essentially saying, to maintain affordability, that square footage would be maintained. You can renovate it. You could certainly do an overhaul of that, but in terms of increasing density, it would limit it.
I thank the gentleman, Madam President.
Chair recognizes the junior senator from Enrico, Senator Van Valkenburg.
Madam President, can this bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 878 goes by for the day.
House Bill 569. A bill relating to employment discrimination, employee notification of federal and state statute of limitations. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
The senator may continue.
This bill requires an employer that has 10 or more employees and who receives a notice of an employee complaint regarding sexual assault, harassment, or other form of discrimination to notify such employment that a charge may be filed with the EEOC or the Office of the Attorney General within 300 days of the alleged unlawful act. The substitute ensures that the employer is required to provide the required notice to just the employee making the discrimination complaint. The bill, as engrossed, would have required a broader notice be given. The bill does provide that the employer is supposed to give that information out as any part of anti-discrimination training for new employees. Again, I reiterate my motion that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 770, retaliatory action against employee prohibited, remedies available. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with amendment.
Chair recognizes again Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I move that the amendment be agreed to.
Question is, shall the amendment be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The amendment is agreed to. Senator.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
This bill provides that a violation of certain provisions regarding retaliatory action against employees may be alleged in a court of competent jurisdiction within 1 year of the employer's final prohibited retaliatory action. The bill states in its current form that the double damages may be awarded if such violation was willful. The committee amendment changed it from treble damages to double damages, but that amendment did not seem to get any additional votes. I still move that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 990, employer seeking wage or salary history of prospective employees prohibited. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor with a substitute.
Senator Deeds, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Question is, shall the substitute be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The substitute is agreed to. Senator Deeds.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that motion.
Senator may say on.
Madam President, the substitute conformed the bill to a bill that passed from the senator of from Western Henrico earlier this year, Senate Bill 370, that passed this floor by the surprising vote of 21 to 19. The bill itself prohibits a prospective employer from seeking the wage or salary history of our prospective employee, and has certain other provisions, but it's a bill you've seen before, and I ask that it pass.
The question is, Chair recognizes the senator from Northern Fairfax County, Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to confirm that there is nobody from Western Henrico, but I'm the senator from Northern Fairfax, and I was the patron. We voted on this, and I'm glad that we're going to do it again.
We thank the senator for that real estate location. The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 18.
Ayes 21, noes 18. The bill passes.
House Bill 1062, net energy metering, eligible customer generators, and agricultural customer generators. Reported from the Committee on Commerce and Labor.
Chair again recognizes Senator Dees, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
First, I'd like to beg the Senate's forgiveness for my geographic ignorance. I have no tolerance for geographic ignorance, and I don't expect any of you to have tolerance either. I'm sorry. Second, this bill is similar to a bill that's the senior senator from Loudoun had earlier, Senate Bill 2071, that passed this floor about 22 to 18. That in the House, they will have to adopt a technical amendment to that bill to get it like this, but we have it in the right form, I think, here. It provides that no contract by which a third party operates an electrical generating facility on an eligible customer generator's property shall constitute the sale of electricity or cause either party to be considered a utility by virtue of participating in a net energy metering. The bill exempts certain customer generators and eligible agricultural customer generators from standby charges. The bill provides that any eligible customer generator or agricultural customer generator may participate in demand response energy efficiency or peak reduction from dispatch of on-site battery service, provided that compensation is received in exchange for a distinct service that is not already compensated. I ask that you pass the bill.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. The bill passes.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
Chair recognizes Senator Sorovel. For what purpose does the senator from Central Fairfax rise?
Madam President, having voted on the prevailing side of SB 649, I ask that we reconsider that vote.
What page is that, sir?
On page 3.
Can we get through this one first, Governor?
Can we get through this part first before going back to that?
Senator, what we are going to do is to delay that request until we finish this section, if that's all right. Yes, sir. Thank you. Chair recognizes the senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Sorovel.
Madam President, I move that all the House bills on second reading on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 9 through 26, House Bill 69 through 1534, that the rules be suspended and the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendar, pages 9 through 26, House Bill 69 through House Bill 1534, be dispensed with? All in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? All the senators voted. Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator Sorovel.
Thank you, Madam President. I would now move that all the bills that are now on third reading go by for the day.
Question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on their third reading go by for the day? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day. Senator Salim, the senator from Central Fairfax County.
Madam President, having voted on the prevailing side of Senate Bill 649 on page 3, I ask that we reconsider that vote.
The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 469 was concurred with be reconsidered? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. Substitute is reconsidered. Senator Salim.
Madam President, with the recommendation that the House substitute be rejected, I move that the amendment or the substitute be agreed to and speak to that motion.
Senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, Senate Bill 649 increases the Virginia line of duty death benefits caused by occupational cancer, respiratory diseases. On our version, we agreed had it for $50,000 in the House version. The substitute came back with 100, and we just want to make sure that was the difference, and we wanted to reject that.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the House substitute be agreed to? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote with the recommendation that it be rejected? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The House substitute is rejected.
Uncontested calendar, Senate bills on second reading.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move to pass by temporarily Senate Bill 29 and Senate Bill 30.
Without objection, well, no. You have to.
Memorial resolutions.
Chair recognizes Senator Sorreville, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move that all the memorial resolutions on pages 27 through 28, HJR 160 through SR 81 be considered in block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions thereof, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution.
The question is, shall the memorial resolutions on pages 27 through 28, House Joint Resolutions 160 through Senate Resolution 81, be considered in the block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution to be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution. Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will now read the titles of the memorial resolutions.
House Joint Resolution 160, celebrating the life of William Arthur Olson. House Joint Resolution 161, celebrating the life of Donald Lee Wilson. House Joint Resolution 163, celebrating the life of Shirley Estelle Savage Harris. House Joint Resolution 164, celebrating the life of Jared Everett Woodbury. House Joint Resolution 165, celebrating the life of Harold Martin Gross. House Joint Resolution 167, celebrating the life of Jack D. Cole, DDS. House Joint Resolution 168, celebrating the life of Rachel Gail Davis Folks. House Joint Resolution 178, celebrating the life of Rear Admiral Ming Ver Chang, United States Navy, retired. Senate Joint Resolution 119, celebrating the life of James Timothy Dock. Senate Joint Resolution 128, celebrating the life of James Patrick McGuire. Senate Joint Resolution 130, celebrating the life of John F. Benton. Senate Resolution 81, celebrating the life of James Moore Stokely.
The resolutions will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolutions, please rise. The resolutions are agreed to.
Commending resolutions.
Chair recognizes Senator Sorovell, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move the commending resolutions on pages 28 through 31, HJR 159 through SR 84, be considered in the block by a voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolutions with the understanding that any senator desiring to remove a resolution from the block shall do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution.
The question is, shall the commending resolutions on pages 28 through 31, House Joint Resolutions 159 through Senate Resolutions 84, be considered in the block by voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolutions, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolutions. All those in favor of that motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will now read the numbers of the resolutions.
House Joint Resolutions 159, 162, 170, 172, 173, 174, 175, 176, 177, 180, 181.
Madam President.
For what purpose does the senator from Roanoke rise?
Can House Joint Resolution 181 please come out of the block and by for the day?
Without objection, House Joint Resolution 181 is out of the block and by for the day.
Senate Joint Resolutions 118, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 129. Senate Resolutions 80, 83, 84.
The question is, shall the resolutions be agreed to? That is, all resolutions except House Joint Resolution 181, which is out of the block and by for the day. All in favor of agreeing to the resolutions will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolutions are agreed to.
Returning to page 26, Senate Bill 29.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas. Wait, privileges of the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move to suspend the rules and grant the privileges of the floor to members of the Senate Finance and Appropriations staff.
The question is, shall the privileges of the floor be granted to members of the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee staff? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The privileges of the floor are granted to the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee staff. Chair again recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I would like to explain the procedures for today.
The senator may continue.
Thank you. Madam President, the clerk will read the list of items taken out of the block. We will then vote on the uncontested committee amendments in a block. Then we will return to the committee amendments taken out of the block and take them up in order. Then we will take up any floor amendments. Hopefully there are not any. Senate Finance staff will then be able to answer any questions that you have. But before we take up the budget, Madam President, I would like to make a few comments.
The senator may continue.
Madam President, on Sunday, when we reported the budget out of committee, I told everyone that I hold the areas of education and public safety close to my heart. I also mentioned that people of my generation, black and white alike, were unable to attend school during massive resistance, and I want to make sure that no child is ever denied the ability to have a quality public education or denied the ability to grow up in a safe and supportive community. My experiences have made me stronger and unafraid to stand up to anyone when I believe that what is being proposed is not in the best interest of the Commonwealth. This budget is in the best interest of the Commonwealth. It provides significant funding for education and raises for teachers and state employees. The committee made additional investments in health and human resources to address behavioral health and public safety to make communities safer through funding for violence prevention and support for victims of crime. The budget also prioritized addressing deferred capital and maintenance and providing toll relief to those who desperately need it. I explained on Sunday that to have adequate funding for these needed investments, this budget retains the new economy sales tax categories related to streaming, digital downloads, and other computer and digital services for individuals. It also applies the sales tax categories to business transactions. I also stated that I find it only fair that the same taxes apply to individuals and businesses when consuming the same digital services. These are things that would traditionally have been taxed prior to the digital transformation. You would have paid sales tax by buying a CD. Whenever now you download or stream your favorite songs without a sales tax. Additionally, a business would have purchased a server for their company to store their files and paid sales taxes, while today they're stored in the cloud without being taxed. This change is in line with the comparable switch to collect sales taxes for online purchases as people shifted their shopping habits from brick and mortar stores to online retailers. Our sales tax need to reflect the products or services that people are purchasing. Consumers have switched from buying traditional durable goods to services, which reduces the sales tax base unless we modernize. I'm going to wrap up my comments by saying that, once again, this Senate budget is structurally balanced and serves all citizens of the Commonwealth. They will have a brighter future with these investments, and I'm proud of the efforts of our committee members in producing this budget, and I hope it will be the pleasure of the body to adopt these amendments. Madam Clerk, would you please read the titles of the bills?
Senator, if we would like to hear from yes. Senator McDougall, Senator from Hanover, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, there's a lot more in this budget that we agree upon than we disagree upon, like raising pay for our teachers and state employees and preparing future generations of leaders. However, there are areas which we do disagree upon, particularly when it comes to raising the tax burden on Virginians. As we look at this Senate budget, I agree with the chairman, it is structurally very sound. And I think that that is one of the obligations of this body. There's funding for our economic challenges, for business-ready sites, for a biotechnical, life science, and pharmaceutical manufacturing network, for access for broadband, for consolidating our workforce development programs. Madam Chairman, I also am very focused on education. Having a child in 6th grade, know how important it is, how important our teachers are, and appreciate the bipartisan commitment to education. not only in raises for our teachers, but also funding a number of areas, including keeping our promises to localities to hold them harmless with the grocery tax. Madam President, this budget also deals with the challenges of inflation that our state employees are dealing with. It deals with the mental health crisis, puts a tremendous amount of funding to our Water Quality Improvement Fund to help our bays and river. And Madam President, as we work through this process, I would be remiss if I didn't thank particularly two individuals and one group. Madam President, I want to particularly say that Director Keyes and her team have done a great job, and I appreciate the fact that they were able to have conversations with us in a bipartisan nature. And Madam President, I'd also like to thank Chairman Lucas for, even though we disagree on some items, the willingness to work in a bipartisan fashion in order to craft a budget out of the Senate. Madam President, as we go forward, I hope that continued bipartisan cooperation will occur as we work toward a budget that we can all support and that the governor can sign.
Chair again recognizes Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President, and I really want to tell Senator McDougal how much I appreciate working with you and all the support that you provided as we develop this budget. But as I previously mentioned, Senate Bill 29 serves the citizens of the Commonwealth for the remainder of this fiscal year. Madam President, I would ask that you would read the titles of the bills.
Bill 29, the budget bill, reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with amendments.
Senator Lucas.
Well, Madam President, I just need to say it one more time. As I previously mentioned, Senate Bill 29 serves all the citizens of the Commonwealth for the remainder of the fiscal year. And now, Madam President, I move the uncontested committee amendments to be agreed to.
The question is, shall the uncontested committee amendments be agreed to? Those in favor of that motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The uncontested committee amendments are agreed to. Senator Lucas.
Madam President, I think the clerk will then go back to the items taken out of the block.
We do not have any.
She doesn't have any. Madam President, I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
I think you're going to move the suspension of the rules. And the Constitution.
Oh, I see it. It's on the board now. Madam President, I move that the constitutional reading be dispensed with.
And the rules suspended.
And that the rules are suspended. Yes, ma'am, I do. Okay, let me find my place.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the third constitutional reading of the title of the bill be dispensed with? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The rules are suspended, and the third constitutional reading of the title is dispensed with. Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move the bill pass.
The question is, Chair recognizes the senior senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam President. Pursuant to Rule 36, I'm abstaining from item 4-14, number 1S, but voting on Senate Bill 29 as a whole.
Chair recognizes Senator McDougal, senator from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I am abstaining pursuant to Rule 36 on item 206, but voting on Senate Bill 29 as a whole.
Chair recognizes Senator Lucas.
Madam President, I am abstaining pursuant to Rule 36 on items 104, 304, 308, 397, 92, 288, 288 1S, 288 8S, 292, 92 number S, 282 S, and 474.2 S. But I am voting on the budget as a whole. Madam President.
The question is, shall Senate Bill 29 pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The bill passes.
Senate Bill 30, the budget bill, and reported from the Committee on Finance and Appropriations with amendments.
Chair again recognizes Senator Lucas, the senator from Portsmouth.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, Senate Bill 30 is a wonderful and structurally balanced budget that is focused on the people of Virginia. Madam President, I move that the uncontested committee amendments be agreed to.
Senator McDougal. The question is, shall the uncontested committee amendments be agreed to? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The committee amendments are agreed to.
So I think, yeah, you just read page 20. These are the ones out of block.
These are the budget amendments requested out of block. Page 20, 49, number 3.
Chair recognizes Senator McDougal, the Senator Saravel, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. Same student government, different senator. So, Madam President, explaining item number 49, number 3S, this is an item that came through the General Government Subcommittee, which is why I'm explaining it here. The Attorney General requested $267,000 for 2 new positions for ratepayer advocacy staff. The committee looked at this and it was never explained to us exactly why the AG felt like he needed this staff, or provide any kind of explanation. In 2022, we gave the Attorney General about 42 new positions. He also lately seems to have plenty of staff to conduct local prosecutions and convene grand juries into certain parts of the state that I'm familiar with. And he also has a voter integrity unit, which recently brought charges, which unsuccessfully after a long time. So he seems to have plenty of staffing resources to do lots of other things. And it just occurred to us that perhaps he could reallocate some of those resources to serve this function instead of asking for additional people for this. If he would like to examine his staffing, we'd be happy to have that conversation. But looking at these 2 positions in a vacuum, we didn't feel like it was justified. The Attorney General currently does have 1 person who's dedicated to ratepayer protection. And that person seems to do a pretty good job, and that's why we rejected this request. I would ask that the body support the amendment striking this out of the budget.
Chair recognizes Senator Suderline, the senator from Roanoke.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the amendment.
The senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. I oppose the amendment. We were just told the Attorney General's office has 1 person doing ratepayer protection, and so that should be good and that should be sufficient. And you may have noticed that there's some large utilities in this state that they may have more than 1 person working on this, and I think that it's entirely reasonable that we have 3 people in the AG's office, which is who are supposed to be our consumer advocate in this process. When we discussed this previously, the majority leader's former law partner, he assured me that it would likely be in the final budget, and so I shouldn't worry too much. And also, at that time, we were told that we would have this commission in place, which would also help us. It did not end up in the final budget, nor did we have the commission online yet. And I think that it's entirely reasonable that the ratepayers of Virginia, who are having incredibly high electric bills, especially in my part of Virginia, that they have these advocates in the OAG. And so I oppose this amendment. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall Amendment 49, number 3, be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Page 66, item 125, number 15.
Chair recognizes Senator Locke, the senator from Hampton.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to item 125, number 15S.
The senator may continue.
It should be noted that the governor expanded the sales tax base to include digital downloads, streaming, and certain taxable services. And this reflects the increase to the dedicated K-12 sales tax revenue. The committee includes a net increase of $62.2 million general fund the first year and $155.8 million general fund the second year for the increase in dedicated K-12 sales tax revenue from expanding the base to include the digital downloads, streaming, and certain taxable services. For every $1 increase in dedicated K-12 sales tax, 55 cents is offset from the state's basic aid costs, and on average, 45 cents is provided to localities. The net amounts in the amendment represent the additional funding provided to localities and a reduction on local share of K-12 education. And with that, Madam President, I move that item 125, number 15S, be agreed to.
The question is, shall item 125, number 15, be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. Chair is uncertain. This will be a recorded vote. The question is, shall item 125, number 15, be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye, will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Page 140, item 289, number 1.
Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that this amendment be agreed to, and I would like to speak to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
This amendment adds about $12.4 million the second year of the biennium to from the general fund, and it creates 10 positions to fund the fiscal impact of Senate Bill 231, which came from the senator from Chesterfield. It sets up a state-funded comprehensive health care plan for coverage for those individuals 19 or under 19 years of age who, but for their immigration status, would be eligible for Virginia's Medicaid or FAMIS program, and are otherwise uninsured.
The question is, shall committee amendment 28, number 1, be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Page 164, item 356, number 2.
Chair recognizes the senior senator from Fairfax County, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move at this time that item 356, number 2S, be agreed to. And speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This involves paid family and medical leave based on Senate Bill 373 that was brought to us by the senator from Northern Virginia, Senator Boysko. This amendment authorizes, it's a language amendment, and this amendment authorizes a Treasury loan for the implementation of Senate Bill 373 that requires the Virginia Employment Commission to establish and administer a paid family and medical leave program with benefits beginning January 1st, 2027. Funding for the program is provided through premiums assessed to employers and employees beginning in 2026, and I reiterate my motion that the amendment be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Page 181, item 390, number 2.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the amendment be agreed to and speak to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
This amendment includes $443,226 from the general fund for 14 pieces of legislation adopted by the Senate that necessitate a deposit to the Corrections Special Reserve Fund. This includes legislation related to firearms, personal use of campaign funds, medical aid in dying, and retail cannabis sales. The legislation Woodrum impacts are associated with this amendment. Again, I move it be accepted.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be accepted? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The committee amendment is accepted.
Page 182, item 390, number 3.
Chair again recognizes Senator Eben, the senator from Alexandria.
I move the amendment be accepted and speaking to that motion.
The senator may continue.
This amendment includes $400,000 from the general fund for the first year for the estimated fiscal impact of 2 pieces of legislation that establish a process for certain inmates to modify their sentences of incarceration. The funding supports the Department of Corrections, which is required to identify and notify appropriate inmates, circuit courts, and other parties, as well as the necessary records for the sentence modification process. That bill, I believe, is from the senator from Charlottesville. And then the other piece of legislation swept into this is Senate Bill 696 from the senator from Norfolk, which provides for an automatic resentencing hearing for state inmates and probationers convicted of certain marijuana-related felonies. Again, I renew my motion that the amendment be accepted.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be accepted? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The committee amendment is accepted.
Page 186, item 391, number 2.
Senator Eben.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the amendment be accepted and speaking to that.
The senator may continue.
This legislation supports legislation from the senator from Norfolk that includes $108,750 from the general fund each year for the estimated fiscal impact of legislation requiring that prospective firearms purchasers complete a firearm safety or training course or demonstrate firearm competence within the last 5 years. It supports, the funding supports a position at DCGAS to establish a process to certify and approve firearm safety and training courses pursuant to Senate Bill 522 that we passed earlier.
The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The committee amendment is sorry, by rote. That was a no? Yes. All right. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Page 186, item 391. No, sorry. We just did that one. Page 270, item 4-14, number 1.
Chair recognizes again Senator Dietz, the senator from Charlottesville.
Madam President, I move that the item pass, and I'd like to speak to that.
Senator may continue.
Madam President, everybody likes teacher raises and likes to take credit for employee raises, but few people like to take credit for raising the money to provide those services. The introduced budget would have taken out $410.5 million in fiscal year 2025 and $589 million in fiscal year 2026 from our budget. This item removes all of the governor's proposed tax legislation from Part 4 of the budget. It expands the sales and use tax to new economy categories effective January 1, 2025, generating $387 million in fiscal year 2025 and almost $947 million in fiscal year 26, and that excludes the K-12 sales tax transfer that we spoke about earlier. New economy categories I'm talking about imposes sales tax on digital downloads and taxable services that I think the chairman spoke about earlier, including software application services, website hosting and design, data storage, streaming services, computer-related services. It applies to all transactions, so including transactions purchased for business use among the states that apply the sales tax to these streaming services. Only 2 states provide an exemption for business-to-business transactions. That's what the amendment does. I reiterate my desire that it be passed.
Question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. This will be a recorded vote. The question is, shall committee amendment 4-14 number 1 be agreed to? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? All the senators voted. Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21. Chair recognizes the senator from Isle of Wight, Senator Jordan. The committee amendment is agreed to. Again, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the rules be suspended and that the third constitutional reading of the title of the bill be dispensed with.
Yes, ma'am. I believe we've done that already. No, we didn't do that. Oh, 29. Sorry about that. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the third constitutional reading of the titles of the bill be dispensed with? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended and the third constitutional reading of the title is dispensed with. Senator Lucas.
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. Madam President, I move that Senate Bill 30 pass.
Chair recognizes Senator Aird, the senator from Petersburg.
Madam President, I am abstaining pursuant Rule 36 to item 217-1S, 217-2S, 217-3S, 218-1S, 218-2S, C-2110-1S, C-51S, C-48-1S, C-20, 21, and 22.
Senator, but you will be voting on?
But voting on HB 30 as a whole.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator McDougall, the senator from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I am abstaining pursuant to Rule 36 on item 194 and item 394, number 4S, but voting on Senate Bill 30 as a whole.
Senator Lucas.
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, I am abstaining pursuant to Rule 36 on item 92, 288, 288 number 1S, 288 number 8S, 292, 92 number 1S, 382 number 1S, and 474.1-1S, but I am voting on Senate Bill 30 as a whole.
The question is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of that motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? That would be a we. The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. Senate Bill 30 passes. Chair recognizes Senator Surville, the senator from Eastern Fairfax County.
Inquiry of the clerk.
The senator may state it.
Does that complete today's calendar?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes again Senator Surville.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for a point of personal privilege and for a motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, first, my point of personal privilege. Today is the 292nd birthday of the founder of our country, Fairfax County's, and especially Eastern Fairfax County's own General George Washington. And by the way, he always liked to call himself General. If you ever visit Mount Vernon, he preferred the title General because that's the title he honored more than actually being President of the United States. I heard and for my comments about George Washington this day, which is normally the tradition in this body, I stole some ideas from a lecture I heard at NCSL this August. Professor named Benjamin Sawyer from the University of Middle Tennessee spoke. And he gave some fascinating insight into George Washington, which I'd never heard anybody say before. What he focused on is that George Washington really became the legend, the person, the founder of the country, the world leader that he is through retreat. And I'd never thought about the possibility of how you find power in retreat. He did that in three ways. First of all, in the Revolution, when the Revolution began, the Continental Army didn't do very well the first year. Actually, in the Battle of Long Island, got chased and pushed up against the East River. They retreated, evacuated over the river at night, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the fog. It was found to be one of the most brilliant retreats ever undertaken. But by retreating then back to down through New Jersey and down to Valley Forge, General Washington then continued to spend that cold winter with his army. And as I think, I've never served in the military, but what I've heard they teach in the military is that it's important for a leader to take care of their troops first, themselves second. He didn't go back to Mount Vernon, hang out in his warm home. He didn't go back and sit in a fancy house. He hung out with his troops the entire winter during their deprivations and their difficulties. And having done that, he gained their confidence while they weren't being paid, and they came back resilient as ever, and eventually were able to win the day at Yorktown years later. Secondly, after that, after he won the revolution, after our army won the revolution, Washington did not choose to become king. And it's hard to appreciate that today, but we didn't elect leaders of countries back then. It wasn't a thing. And George Washington had there sitting in the palm of his hand the possibility of becoming the king of the 13 colonies. He was that respected within America at that moment, what was then becoming America. It wasn't exactly America yet. But he deferred that power. And instead, he elected to go back home, right down from where I live, and basically make whiskey. Come visit it, the distillery. It's a fascinating exhibit, and the whiskey's pretty good. I got some in my office if you'd like some. But General Washington, his second retreat, his second sacrifice, he chose not to grab power that he could have grabbed. Then after that, when it came time for the Continental Congress, Jefferson, Madison, they all begged him to come to the convention, the Constitutional Convention. And Washington didn't really want to go. You know, he wasn't a financial expert. He wasn't a statesman's expert. He didn't even have a high school education, really. But they knew that by bringing him, it would lend credence to the body and the task it was endeavoring on. And he went on to become the first president of the United States. You know, they designed a position that they knew was going to be him, in which he's ended up serving for 8 years. But what he then again did yet one more time was he surrendered power. And it's actually memorialized in the song in Hamilton one last time, where the lyrics, I think they said, he could have, or going to teach them how to say goodbye. And after his 8 years, he elected not to stay on as president forever, but he said, I'm going to surrender power, I'm going to give up this position. And he taught our country how to transition power from one leader to another, which is something that I don't think had really ever been done in another country before, and remained the tradition in our country. And we're still actually astonishing having to continue to remind people that presidents have to surrender power sometimes. But I just think it's important to note that the man that's on that pedestal down the hall there, he became the person that he was, not by wielding power, not by grabbing power and using it, but by actually often giving it up. And that, I think, is a very important lesson that we can all think about being leaders in this body on this, his 292nd birthday. And having said that, Madam President, I would move that when we adjourn today, we adjourn in the honor of General George Washington.
We thank the senator. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? The clerk will report any announcements on the calendar.
Today, Thursday, February 22nd, the Committee on Finance and Appropriations will meet immediately upon adjournment at the chair's desk to take up a bill. The Committee on Transportation will meet 15 minutes after adjournment, Senate Room B. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Public Education will meet 30 minutes after adjournment, Senate Room C. Senators Van Valkenburg, Locke, Peake, Prakarsky, and Craig. The Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on Education will not meet. The Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on Resources will not meet. The Rural Caucus will meet at 5 p.m. Senate Subcommittee Room 500 on the 5th floor. Friday, February 23rd, the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services will meet at 8 a.m. in the Senate Room A. The Finance and Appropriations Subcommittee on Capital Outlay and Transportation will not meet. The Education and Health Subcommittee on Health Professions will meet at 8:30 a.m. in the Senate Subcommittee Room, 3rd floor, GAB. This is a location change. Senators Boysko, Pillion, Bagby, Head, and Prakarsky. The Committee on Rules will meet at 10 a.m. Senate Room C. The Republican Caucus will meet 45 minutes before session in Senate Room 2, and the Democratic Caucus will meet 30 minutes before session in Senate Room 1.
Chair recognizes Senator Jordan, the senator from Isle of Wight.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an announcement.
The senator has the floor.
First, I thank the clerk for announcing Rural Caucus tonight, but I just wanted to add a little bit to that. This evening when Rural Caucus meets, room 500 for 5th floor, we'll also be joined this evening to have a robust discussion on rural health care with Speaker Don Scott and our Secretary of Health and Human Resources, John Littell, as well as our Secretary of Labor, Brian Slater. So I hope if anyone would like to talk very thoughtfully and deeply on rural health care that you would please join us this evening. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow, and in so doing, that we do in honor and memory of General George Washington.
The question is, shall the Senate now adjourn until 12 noon in honor of General George Washington? Those in favor of that motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion is agreed to. The Senate now stands adjourned in the honor of General George Washington, our first president, until 12 noon tomorrow.